Welcome to Swartz Talkin Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz. Thanks for joining in. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button. We really need your help to get this channel off the ground, so it would be great. Also, we are available via Spotify and Google Podcasts, so be sure to follow Swartz Talkin Sports on TikTok and on Instagram. Well, we've got an interesting show for you tonight. We're stepping a little bit out of our comfort zone. We're talking a little Major League Baseball as we're actually doing this show live right now. There is a game being played right now in the seventh inning. We'll get caught up on that and two other games this evening. We'll touch base on the first game this afternoon, which eliminated the Tampa Rays. We'll talk about that with Benny the Book, the King of Carolina, and we're bringing on a special guest today who's got a little bit of a connection with baseball in his family and played at an iconic high school in Cincinnati, Ohio, at Moeller High School, played football there, but also went to school with some great ball players in both football and baseball. So let's bring everyone on right now. So let's introduce Greg Stofko, a friend of the show. Love to have Greg on from Cincinnati, and also Benny the Book, the King of Carolina. Thanks, guys, for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Love it.
All right, do we got Benny on there?
Hey, Les. Yeah, I'm on now.
Okay, we got everybody on. That's live television, right?
Yeah.
It happens. So right now, before we even begin, we can't let everyone know that the Tampa Rays have lost to the Texas Rangers in two straight games. So it looks like it's going to be Texas against the Orioles in the semifinals, correct?
Yes, that's correct, Les. Texas blew it there. They were looking to win the division, and Houston snuck by them on the last day. So therefore, they didn't get that bye, and now they're going to have to face the Baltimore Orioles. Unbelievable team, man. Just a few years ago, they couldn't win baseball games, and now 101 wins. Unbelievable. Great job by their organization.
And in the other game that's going on right now, I do not know what the score is. Maybe you can check that out. The Twins were leading 2-0.
Twins are up 2-0 in the bottom of the seventh.
Okay, so the Twins win that game. They face the defending champs, the Houston Astros.
Right, correct.
Okay. Want to start off with a little National League because Greg's the Cincinnati kid, right? He's from the National League. And before we start, Greg, let's talk a little bit about your connection to Major League Baseball, which runs really family deep.
Yes, it does. Actually, so unfortunately, that was the sport I gave up at Moeller High School. That was the sport I played freshman, sophomore year, and decided it was in my best interest to play basketball and football, figure that one out. But actually, my uncle is Buddy Bell. As you guys well know, Buddy Bell was a 7-time Gold Glove winner. David Bell, who is now the manager of the Cincinnati Reds, is my first cousin. David was a year behind me all through school, so we played sports together.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of baseball ties here in Cincinnati.
And also Moeller High School, where you went to school, so many great ball players coming out of there in all sports, but specifically football and baseball, right? Maybe you can let some of the viewers in on some of the people that came out of Moeller High School that made it big time, in both sports.
So feel like a name dropper, but very proud of our school. Grew up all around Moeller High School. I have a 15-year-old freshman, Andrew Stofko, who is at Moeller. Feel like I'm name dropping, but no, it's
that's what we do here, Greg. Name drop.
That's it. So we've had a lot of folks. I mean, everybody from Vince Sylvester that played for the Raiders in football. We had the #1 pick many moons ago for the Seattle Seahawks. Let's think. Barry Larkin. Barry Larkin was a Michigan baseball player that ended up obviously is in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. Buddy Bell, a guy by the name of Ken Griffey Jr. that was 2 years older than me, played baseball for Cincinnati Moeller.
He must have been something in high school to see playing baseball, Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, it was something really, really special. And again, at the time you don't know it's happening, but you're seeing throws, you're seeing hits, you're seeing things that just don't seem real. But at the time, you really don't believe it's probably the best player ever to play baseball. But yeah, a lot of guys that have come through, and it's it attracts people, obviously, for that reason.
Well, let's talk a little about. So we're starting with the National League right now. I know we can throw up some graphics of the matchups and things like that, but right now the National League, it looks like, I mean, the clear-cut favorites right now, the Atlanta Braves and the Los Angeles Dodgers. They had pretty much run roughshod over the National League this entire year. The Braves have had an incredible season offensively. I mean, they're putting up numbers that are just have never been seen before. They've got the reigning or the leading MVP candidate, which is Ronald Acuna Jr. We'll jump into that a little bit in the next segment. They've got a great strikeout pitcher in Strider, even though he struggled a little bit. So I want to get both your guys' take on, will the Braves, will they just run right through the National League? Do you think there's a chance that maybe the Phillies, who've got a very good team. You know, you've got Bryce Harper, you've got Schwarber who can hit home runs. You've got a couple of good pitchers. Zach Wheeler, is a stopper. Does anybody have a chance to derail either of these two teams? That can the Dodgers ultimately beat Atlanta if they match up?
To tell you the truth, they faced a lot of adversity, the Atlanta Braves, in the year. At the beginning of the year, they lost two of their best pitchers. Fried, he did come back. He was pitching well. I think he got hurt again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure if he's on the lineup for the playoffs. But offensively, I mean, with Acuna and Olsen, unbelievable. I mean, I started looking at Olsen's stats. I mean, 54 homers, 137 RBIs. I mean, and all they do is talk about Acuna. That's a lot. That's pretty big numbers. So I think Atlanta's going to. I think they're going to take it. I don't think. Well, you got Freddie Freeman. You got Betts.
Well, you got Betts. The Red Sox. Boy, the Red Sox are missing Mookie Betts right about now.
Yeah, it's gonna be a real good series. But I think Atlanta is going to come through.
Greg, do you think potentially that the Phillies, other than them facing off against each other, that in the semifinals, that any other team has a possibility of knocking them off? Do you think it can happen?
And obviously, anything can happen. I'm a Cincinnati fan, so that's the way we work. But I honestly agree. I don't know that anybody's going to the Braves are pretty good. My money's with the Braves.
Yeah, that's what the book thinks. The Braves are definitely going to do that. Now let's jump to the American League a little bit, and let's talk about, we've already seen Texas. They just took care of Tampa. They're playing the Orioles. Does anybody, I mean, the Orioles are an incredible story, right? You look at them, and they've won 101 games. To your point, Benny, they had 4 seasons where they didn't win 55 games total, right? So Mike Elias has done an amazing job building that program, right? And building that squad from basically, getting minor leaguers and drafting, right? But the incredible thing about it is not one player on that team is batting north of 277. Not one player has got 30-plus home runs, where the rest of the league has gone home run happy, okay? How in the world does this team win 101 games?
Well, the American League this year, they really didn't have very, very many strong teams. I mean, the Yankees were down. Red Sox were down. You're talking teams that you normally are up there. I mean, they may not be like they normally are, but I mean, the Yankees, they were horrible this year. I mean, they couldn't beat anybody.
Well, Aaron Judge, when Aaron Judge gets bitten by the injury bug, and he doesn't play, that's a massive hole to fill in that Yankee lineup.
Earlier in the year, Volpe was leading the Yankees with 55 RBIs. I think this was the beginning of September. The Atlanta Braves had 7 players with 55 RBIs or more. So that just shows you the firepower that they have. But after Texas beat Tampa Bay today, they had a few very good streaks during the year. I mean, they were leading their division most of the year. Mm-hmm. Then they fell behind Houston. They took the lead back again. And then they just played the last week or so pretty badly, and they lost out by 1 game. So they may be a team to watch. They could be the team that could beat Baltimore. Well, and you never know with Houston. I mean, Verlander, they have the pedigree. I mean, Alvarez. But you saw what he did last year in the playoffs.
Oh,
The guy
ripped it up.
he could be phenomenal. I mean, so baseball is it's a game of streaks, and somebody could get hot and they could get right to the World Series.
My question about Verlander, who's been incredible in his entire career, he's obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer. How many innings does he have left in that arm?
No, I don't know. He's a pretty hard worker. He's a bulldog. He had Tommy. Did he have Tommy John surgery? Or?
He did.
Yeah,
he did.
And he came
Tommy
back
John
from
surgery.
that. I mean, I think he just pitched last week against Arizona, a 1-0 shutout against them, seven strong innings against a team that made the playoffs. So some of these guys, he probably has a good another year or two in him.
Well, the way I look at it too, you always have Jose Altuve, who is the constant. He's the one constant from that first World Championship, and then obviously they got hit with that the scandal, which was sign stealing, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the Red Sox got hit on that as well.
Hitting the garbage can cover.
Yeah, hitting the garbage can a few times. Benny, I hit the garbage can a few times, but it has nothing to do with base stealing.
Yeah.
Right. So
yep. I think I've hugged the garbage can a few times. You get to banging the buckets. Anything's game. You never know in baseball, right?
Absolutely, right. You got that right, Greg. So, what is going to be our predictions right now? If we're looking at what we think is going to happen, obviously Minnesota is leading right now. The Twins will face off against the defending champs, Houston. We already have Texas and the Orioles. Do we think the Orioles are going to continue the Cinderella story? I personally think Texas is riding high right now. Corey Seager is an MVP candidate, right? I mean, he won't win it, but he's had a tremendous season. He's had a great career. He leads a very potent offense, and their bullpen is strong. I mean, Texas is strong in the bullpen, and you need a strong bullpen because how many of these pitchers nowadays, and I was talking about this with a friend earlier today, pitchers are now asked to go 5 and 6 innings. They don't go 7 or 8 anymore, right? It's really let's get it to the bullpen and let's see what that middle relief will do. And right now, Texas has a good middle relief, and I think that gives them maybe an advantage.
Yes. In the American League, I would lean towards Texas. And you know what I've seen from Minnesota the last few days? They got Sonny Gray. Had a very good year. He's probably going to be right in the Cy Young.
Sub-3 ERA this year.
2.67. Yeah. Derek Coles, I think, had a 2.64.
You have to throw those Yankees in there, Benny.
Well, Derek, Coles had a great year.
That's
for a team that was horrible. I mean, they threw a lot on him. I mean, it was I think you got to watch Minnesota too because they hit a lot of home runs this year. Minnesota. Mm-hmm. They had a very good year banging the ball out of the park. So I would go Texas, Minnesota. I think 1-2. That's who I would pick.
The one question I do have, and this is going to sound crazy because I really don't know this answer, is there's been so many changes in baseball in the last couple of years to speed up the game. Obviously, the DH now in the NL, which I really don't like. I think it takes a lot of the decisions out of the manager, where normally strategy would really be involved, and the double switch, that type of thing that we all grew up with, watching and playing, that doesn't happen anymore. The throw over to first base, which you're limited to 2 throws now, and then the base stealer, if he's very good, like an Acuna swiped 70 bases this year. I mean, if he gets on base, whether it's a walk or a single, it's a good chance he's going to end up on second base within a couple of pitches. Okay,
yeah,
it's basically getting a double. Does that work in the playoffs? Do they only can throw over twice during the play? Does that like the pitch clock with the pitcher has to throw within? Is that eligible in the playoffs?
Oh yeah,
it is. Okay,
I think in the Minnesota game, one of the Minnesota players got an automatic strike.
Okay.
Must have been standing out of the box for longer than he had to. They did the 2 pickoffs. They wanted to get the stolen base back into the game. That disappeared. I mean, these guys, every guy in the lineup was swinging for home runs. All they wanted to do was hit home runs, and speeding up the baseball. games were way too long.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, the Red Sox Yankee games, forget about it. If it was a short game, it was 3 hours and 45 minutes. That was a short game. They would play for 5 hours, the Yankees and the Red Sox. And you know, there's a lot of things about keeping the guy in for 3 batters once they bring in the reliever. They seem to be doing a good job accomplishing what they set out to do, Major League Baseball. And I think it's made it more interesting for the people. They don't have to go sit there for 3.5, 4 hours. That you'll get bored. You get bored.
Greg, now
I
from
mean,
your
yeah,
you know, I agree
yeah.
with you, Benny. I just think
Yeah.
that, you know, baseball has become, it's so long, and that's what I think made football really the America's pastime. It's not baseball anymore, it's football. Because, you know, at 1 o'clock the game starts, at 4 o'clock the game's over. You can plan your day around it. It's 3 hours. And, you know, there's not crazy commercials all the time, right? So baseball, it just drags on. If there's extra innings, God forbid a game goes to 13 or 14 innings. I mean, you could be sitting there for 5 or 6 hours watching a baseball game. And
Yeah,
I don't think anybody has the time to invest in that anymore.
I'll tell you. The one rule I don't like is putting the extra inning game, putting the guy on second base, because it's much easier. You're changing the whole game.
Yeah.
A team that can't hit, you're giving them an opportunity to win the game that they probably wouldn't have had if you didn't put the guy on second base with no outs. You know, I don't like. I think someday they may go back to the old way, but you know, who knows?
Greg, are you more of a traditionalist when it comes to baseball? Do you like these new rules to speed it up? Or are you more like an old school guy like me who is more of a traditionalist?
I absolutely am. You know, that's part of the game. That's the foundation of baseball. You know, you look at football as an example right now. I mean, now everything is about what's her name, Taylor Swift. That is changing like the game of football. So, you know, it is entertainment. It's entertainment dollars. These athletes are making multi-million dollars. It is entertainment dollar, but I'm a traditionalist, you know, especially when it comes to baseball. It's the one thing we have left.
Yeah, that is true, and it's definitely changing. What I want to do is, and we'll get an update. Benny, do you have any update on the score at all right now with the Twins?
Yep, it's bottom of the 8th, 2 outs. The Minnesota Twins are still up 2-0.
Okay, so Twins are up 2-0. They win this one again. They play the defending champ, the Houston Astros. That would probably start, I think, Friday or Saturday. Not exactly sure the television schedule with that.
Talking about a bullpen. I watched the game yesterday. The Twins brought this guy in. I think his name was Duran. He threw the ball 100. He was throwing the ball 104 and 105 miles an hour. And
104 miles an hour.
He has the 5 fastest pitches in the major leagues this year. 104 and 105 several times. So he comes out yesterday, and his first 6 pitches he throws to the Toronto guys, all curveballs. And then he started throwing the 105-mile-an-hour heater at them. They didn't know what to do.
I was going to say, I don't know how you catch up to that after facing like 85-mile-an-hour curveballs.
I remember in college facing like my teammates 95, you know, and that was a long time ago.
That's some
guys didn't throw
105 miles an hour.
Yeah,
that's bringing heat.
Yes, that's bringing
heat. Well, I want to check out before we go to our first inning and second inning break. I just wanted to check and see if we have any questions. Today is a live chat again, so we're accepting questions. If you have comments on the show or anything about baseball or anything, maybe some questions to our guest about David Bell or something like that, maybe you can let us know. I'm not sure if we have anything yet. We have 2, I think, questions right now. So I'm going to leave it over to Joni, our amazing chat girl, who's going to ask the questions. And I guess it's up to us to answer them. So take it away, Joni.
Okay. Well, Tech for Fun asks, any of you guys ever been to Cooperstown for MLB Hall of Fame?
Well, I have not been to Cooperstown. Greg, what about you?
I have not. That's a bucket list thing. I would love to go there.
Wow. Okay. Benny?
I was at Cooperstown when I was I think about a 9-year-old kid. My father took me there. But recently, I was at Cooperstown the week before Derek Jeter's
induction.
enshrinement. Yeah. It was the week before. And I played at the golf course there. They have a famous golf course, and it's a really special place. I mean, I always loved the game of baseball. Played it in college, and really enjoyed it. There's so much there. And today we were talking about a debate about Pete Rose being in the Hall of Fame. And my friend asked me, do you think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame? And one of the other golfers said, absolutely not. And I said, you know what? What he did on a baseball field, he was one of the best baseball players that ever lived. I mean, what he did on a baseball field, you can't deny that. Put him in there for his records, and don't put his what do they call it? His
how about his shortcomings?
Everybody's different. I'm Benny the Book.
Well,
I don't ever think he bet against the Cincinnati Reds. I think he only bet on them. So I think that's fine.
And let's talk to Greg. Greg, obviously a Cincinnati guy. Greg, and you watch Pete Rose play in his prime, with the big red machine and all that. Do you think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame?
I do. I understand people that disagree with that. I understand that people say, okay, he messed with the integrity of the game. I understand that piece too. I tend to agree. I don't think he would ever in a million years bet against the Cincinnati Reds. I do understand people that look at it and say, well, he maybe played the game a little bit different if he had money on it, but you're never going to see another Pete Rose. I mean, you talk about purists in baseball. You talk about a guy with limited ability, limited athleticism. You're never going to ever see that again.
Right.
Charlie Hustle, right? That was his nickname. No. So now we do have one more question before we go to the break. So we're going to have Joni ask that question right now.
Actually, it's a question about football. So I don't know if we want to switch gears now or not.
Oh, let's go for it. We can all answer football questions.
Right. Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. So Douglas Callahar asks, who is the disputed greatest college quarterback of all time? Is it Tim Tebow?
Why in the world would he ask that question?
I have no idea.
The greatest college quarterback of all time? Certainly, I don't know. Tebow won a Heisman, right? Wow.
I would not vote for Tim Tebow.
Best college quarterback of all time.
I don't know that I'm qualified to touch that one. You talking about going back by era and era.
Yeah, right.
I know. I'm thinking
certainly would be in the conversation. He would be in the conversation for sure from a college standpoint.
Be, but I'm thinking, wow. Oh my goodness, that's a really good one. I don't know.
How about your boy Doug Flutie?
He was a great college quarterback. He did some great things. Won a Heisman Trophy as well at 5'9", right? That's pretty amazing. Flutie was great, but there's got to be some other people. Someone's put the heart slappers, Hail Marys. Oh my God, he's got it right up there. Look at that. He's got it right up there.
Vince Young. Vince Young.
Okay, I would say I think Carson Palmer was tremendous, but Vince Young for what he did at Texas, and in that one game against USC where he single-handedly beat the best team in football, and they were a dynasty. The SC was a dynasty at that time. He basically willed that team to victory, right? So I would say Vince Young was better than Team T. If I had to take two, and also you got to look at Tommy Frazier, what he did at Nebraska. That 95 team might have been the best, most dominant team in college football history. I'm not a Cornhusker fan, but Frazier ran that option to perfection. He could not be tackled. He made throws when he had to. So I think I would take Tommy Frazier over Tim Tebow. As good Team Tebow was. But thanks, Doug, for that question. We're going to take a break. We'll be back to talk a little MVP race in both the National and American Leagues with Greg Stofko and Benny the Book after this.
Forever 24 Fit, Leland's only gym with 24-hour access. Get fit when it's convenient, utilizing Life Fitness, cardio, and weight machines. And for those of you who prefer free weights, there is a free weight area as well. Start your membership today and get on your way to a better you. 6 Happiness. Enjoy fresh Asian cuisine in a relaxed and friendly atmosphere where we believe good times deserve great food. Featuring the best sushi chefs in the Leland area. So come on in, and we guarantee you will be delighted.
Welcome back to Swartz Talkin Sports. I'm Les Swartz. We talked a little baseball. We're going to continue that in second inning. We're going to talk a little MVP races in the National and American League. Thanks for the questions out there, by the way. And if you please can, we've got Joni for one more inning. So any questions or comments about baseball? Evidently, we're talking college football too. So anything anybody wants to talk about, please be sure to send that in. Joni will ask the questions. We'll do our best to answer those. Remember, please hit that subscribe button. We really, really need your support, and we'll answer any questions you have, any comments on the show, things like that. So let's bring in, for second inning, back Greg Stofko, who's nice enough to join us from Cincinnati, Ohio, and Benny the Book, the King of Carolina. And let's look at the MVP races in baseball this year. Benny, if there's any update in the score with the Twins, please let us know and give it to us, and we can definitely have the Twins playing the Houston Astros. But let's start with the National League. Greg, I know you're more valuable with the National League. Oh, Greg stepped out a moment, I guess. That's, again, this is the Snafus of live television. So, well, Benny, National League. Everyone's talking. It's Acuna and it's Betts.
Acuna and Betts.
Who's going to do it?
Well, I would say Acuna, since he was on the team with the best record. But I'd also throw Olsen in there. I mean, 54 homers, 137 RBIs for the league leading Atlanta Braves. You know, I got a feeling it's going to be one of those two guys. I know that you said he had the 70 stolen bases and the 40 homers. Excellent. They're both excellent fielders, but I would go Acuna or Olsen.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to figure Acuna with the OPS of 1.012, right? That is like the new matrix for baseball. We grew up, it used to be the Triple Crown, right? It was average, home runs, and RBI, right? Those were the denominators in baseball. That's how you really valued your players, right? That's right. Did you win a Triple Crown? Did you get close to a Triple Crown, right? Now it's more like that. And then there's other one called WAR, which I don't even understand. And it's another whole matrix with Major League Baseball. The analytics are over the top. Okay. Yep. But the 73 stolen bases, incredible, and like you said, it's really gone. It hasn't been so long since we had base stealers, right? The Ricky Hendersons, the Vince Colemans, the Tim Raineses, the Ron LaFleurs, the Lou Brocks. These guys were stealing 50, 60, 70, and in some cases hundreds of bases a year, right? I mean, I think there's only been 4 players that have stolen over 100 bases a year. Henderson broke the all-time record. He stole 130 one year, which that's one record, Benny, that's never going to be broken. No one's going to steal 130 bases in one season.
I would say in that part of the game, Ricky Henderson, he was like a home run hitter. I mean, if he could get on anyway, a walk, a hit, it was a double or a triple, and then he was in scoring position. So, it changed. It's the game has changed, and it looks like they're trying to get back to that. They're trying to get that part of the game back. No more hit and runs. It's that was all part of the game.
Well, it's the long ball now, right? It's all about, they would rather have a player that strikes out 3 times a game, but if he can hit one dinger and knock in 3 or 4 runs, look at Kyle Schwarber. He's barely batting 200. I don't know what he finished this year, Benny, but it's not much higher than the Mendoza line.
Right.
But he hit 49 home runs, right? So he's incredibly valuable based on the analytics in baseball today.
Yeah.
Right? So, Freddie Freeman, you got to throw in there as well. I mean, Freeman's had a really good year.
He's a tremendous ball player. I mean,
But 331, he even stole 23 bases, 29 dingers, 102 RBI. Great year. Yeah. And then they've got Corbin Carroll, who I guess is going to be the Rookie of the Year at Arizona. Hit a home run last night, actually. Went deep on – it was the Battle of the Corbins. I think the pitcher for Milwaukee is Corbin Corbin Burns. He turned around a
Burns,
fastball and he jerked that out of the park pretty quick. He went 285 with 25 homers and 76 RBI, and also stole 54 bases.
Right.
And I looked up his stats, Ben. He's 5'10", and he's 160 pounds.
Oh yeah, he looks like a little kid.
It's unbelievable. I'm like, he does look like a 17-year-old kid, but he put up some really, really solid numbers, right, in the National League. So we both think it's going to be Ronald Acuna in the National League. American League, what do you like in here? I mean, is it a two-time winner again?
Well, I looked at the odds that Vegas has on this gentleman to win the trophy, and it was minus 20,000. I've never seen anything like that.
So that's
minus
a runaway,
20,000. Right? Minus 20,000. I mean, you got to put up $20,000 to win $1. Who would do that in their right mind?
I don't have that kind of money.
No. But some of the people you do.
That's true. That is true.
But
and we're talking about Shohei Ohtani from the Angels.
Yeah, it looks like he's everybody's choice. I mean, he's a freak. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime ball player you're seeing. The guy is a tremendous pitcher. He'll probably be in the top 3 in the Cy Young voting, and he's one of the best hitters in baseball.
Well, you look at his measurables, 304 batting average, so obviously he gets on base, 44 homers, 95 RBI, and he had the highest OPS in baseball at 1,066, right? And he missed 30-plus games because they shut him down with a month to go in the season. I think he's
right.
Now, is he going to be having Tommy John surgery? Are they just going to rest it?
No, he's going to have surgery.
So he's going to have surgery. And from what I understand, well, he's not happy with the Angels. He wants out of Los Angeles.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll get the Yankees. Will get him.
I was going to say, so what does that mean? He's going to go to the Yankees?
Yeah, we're going to go to the Yankees. Sure.
I don't know about that one. But, you've got Shohei Ohtani. You got Corey Seager, who we mentioned earlier, who put up great numbers with the Rangers, 327, 33 dingers, 96 RBI, another 1.013 OPS. So got on base, slugging percentage. I think that's slugging percentage and on base percentage, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Obviously, tremendous stats there. And another player that I really like, a 22-year-old kid who really Seattle rode his hot bat, and that's Julio Rodriguez, the center fielder.
Yes.
And, 32 homers, 103 RBIs. I think this kid is a future stud.
He is a future star.
Yeah,
yes.
And they just missed the playoffs by game, correct?
Yeah, they expect him to be probably the next, like, Ken Griffey Jr.,
That's a tall order. Ken Griffey Jr.
I know, but he fits the mold. He fits the mold. He's a tremendous center fielder. He hits for power. He's fast. He does everything.
So who do you like? So who are you picking to win this thing?
No, Shohei Ohtani's going to win it. There's no doubt about it.
Shohei Ohtani. Okay. All right. Well, something, I think everyone agrees with you. And I would never take that bet, by the way. That makes no sense to me.
No.
$20,000 to win $1 doesn't make any sense.
I've never seen anything like that before. I mean, in any sport, betting minus 20,000.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's insane.
Crazy. So let's touch a little bit of different bases here. So obviously we already know who's in the playoffs. We know who's going to get there. Obviously 2 big games tonight. And they determine, who's going to be playing the Braves and the Dodgers, right? So we're looking at the Phillies, and if they hold serve tonight, they get Aaron Nola going tonight, right? Now, not as good as he's been in the past, right? His earned run average is over 4 this year, and he's really a power pitcher. Right, gets guys out with a power fastball and a curveball. If they somehow squeak out, I'm telling you, I'm picking. Here's my upset pick, Benny. The Phillies are going to take down the Braves. Okay, I know we get a lot of people on the Braves bandwagon. They've been great all year. Their number 1 pitcher, Spencer Strider, who's a strikeout guy,
right.
Post All-Star game, his ERA is up almost a full run. He has not pitched great in the second half of the season. You said it about Fried. Morton is out for the playoffs. He's their top ERA guy. He's out for the playoffs, right? So I really think that if the Braves win it, they're going to have to win games 8-6 8-5,
Well,
7-4. They're going to have to score more than 5 or 6 runs. I
if
think
they
the
play, if
Phillies,
they play the Dodgers, that's what the scores are going to be.
if they do play the
8-6,
Dodgers,
8-6.
but I don't think they're going to get past the Phillies. I think the Phillies pitching can hold. I think always, Benny, you know this. You play baseball, right? When you get to the playoffs in the World Series, usually
pitching
good
beats.
pitching usually beats good hitting, right?
Minnesota won 2-0 less.
Fantastic. So Minnesota 2-0.
round.
So we got
2-0.
the Twins against the Astros, and we have the Rangers and Orioles, so they're all set. But
And the Brewers scored 2 in the bottom of the first, and they're still batting.
okay, so and the Brewers are down 1 game to Arizona.
One game. Yep. Yeah. This is a big game for the Brewers. You know, they had a pretty good year. They were riding high there for a while. Arizona snuck in. They beat Corbin Burns last night. That was a big that they beat their best pitcher, but he doesn't pitch that well against Arizona, the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, you know, for some reason, Arizona, as you said, they got hot at the end of the year. Really didn't know much about them this year. I mean, they pretty much flew under the radar until about the last maybe 4 or 6 weeks of the season, right? And they kind of got fire and they just backed in. I would have loved to seen the Reds get in it because I would have loved to seen Ellie De La Cruz, right? What an exciting player. I think he's like 6'6" or something like that. And he's the fastest guy in baseball. They talk about the exit velocity off his bat when he hits home runs. First of all, Benny, I got to tell you, this is what I love about baseball, right? First of all, you hit a home run. Okay. Then it was about tape measure shots. Then they started measuring home runs by feet. How many feet the ball went, right? Now they're talking about exit velocity.
Exit velocity.
How fast the ball gets out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
Don't you think baseball is overdoing it a little bit?
Yeah, well, all different things to promote the game, and I don't know, get the. I mean, a home run is a home run. I mean, who cares how fast it gets out?
That's the way I think. It only counts as one run if it's a solo, right?
Some guys hit towering home runs. Other guys, Dave Kingman. I mean, he used to monster shots. You know, they just kept going and going and going. But
I would have loved to seen the Reds get in there. I really would have. I mean, I just think they have a really exciting young team, and hopefully Greg. I think Greg didn't know he was going to be going on with the second inning. To be honest with you, would love to have Greg on in the discussion. But hopefully Greg can get us David Bell. I'd love to ask some questions about David, about that team coming back next year. I mean, obviously telling us a little bit about Ellie De La Cruz and some of the other players. He mentioned Joey Votto maybe at the end of his career. He's played a long time for the Reds, right?
That might have hurt the Reds. He got hurt late in the season, and he's been there. He was one of those guys that been there, and that could have hurt him because they really were riding high. They were at the beginning in the first half of the year. They were a team. People thought they were going to go places.
Yeah, and
then they didn't start the second half out as good as they would like, and then a couple of guys got hurt, and that's what happens. They had a young pitching staff. They may have pitched better at the beginning, and then once they go through the teams a few times, people get to see them. They hit them better.
Also, staying with baseball, Ben, right? Someone who I think is not going to get credit for being one of the greatest managers, but I think this guy was one of the best modern day managers that I've ever seen, and that's Terry Francona. Comes to the Red Sox. Didn't do well with the Phillies, really didn't have a lot of talent to work with in Philadelphia. Got a second chance with the Red Sox, and, my God, it's historic, right? The Red Sox hadn't won in 86 years. Not only wins it once, but wins it twice. Wins it again in 2007. Manages the greatest comeback, and I think in sports history. I know it pains you what the Red Sox did, but down to your last strike and your last out against the best, maybe the best reliever of all time, and you come back and win 4 straight.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was unbelievable. Great baseball person, great individual. I understand that the reason he's probably leaving now is I think he has some health problems, but it's really sad to see him go. I mean, because I still think he has some managerial baseball knowledge that they could still help
Yeah, Tito
You
was
know,
great. He was great. And he
Cleveland
managed
Indians.
really well for the Indians too. I mean,
Indians, he really turned them around.
He
I mean,
did.
they were a force. They were a force. They were, they weren't to be taken lightly. This year they they were there, but they just couldn't, get that one big streak to get in there. And well, gonna hate to see him go.
yeah,
That's all.
well, like I was going to say, I really will miss Terry. I know the Indians will. I know the Red Sox fans incredibly fond. I'll tell you one thing. I wish, as much as Alex Cora has been a pretty solid manager for the Sox, I would love to have Francona be on in the dugout. I really would. I think it would be great. And I think both the Red Sox and Indians will honor him next year, especially the Red
Sure.
Sox for what he did with that franchise in getting them. The Red Sox always were known as the team that would always come in second, crushing defeats. The year before with Grady Little and Aaron Blippen Boone and the whole fiasco. And speaking about that, we lose Tim Wakefield this weekend, who was
Really?
Tim Wakefield passed away this weekend to
I didn't
brain
know that.
cancer. And what a great pitcher for so many years with the Red Sox, knuckleballer. Really, really instrumental in eating up innings for the Sox, right, and saving the bullpen. He gave up that home run to Aaron Boone, did he not?
Yeah.
He gave up the homer, but that's okay. Redeemed himself in 04 and 07, so that's a tough one. Red Sox fans are going to miss Tim Wakefield on that, but I just wanted to check before we go in. I know we're going to switch bases again. We're going to go to third inning, and we're going to look at some of your picks and coming up this week. I know you had a tough one last week, Benny, right?
Yes,
it's like
it
a
was
roller coaster.
very,
You're going
very
high,
tough.
you're going low, right?
Some things happen that if it was any other quarterback in the NFL, I would have won that Kansas City game. But he's very smart, intelligent football player. He did the right thing.
And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that exact play. But before we go, I want to, first of all, get a couple questions. We might have questions or comments. Let's ask Joni, our amazing chat girl. Who do we got up, Joni?
All right. Well, we have two questions,
Two
actually.
questions.
Yes, from a listener, Tech for Fun, who asks, what do you think the odds of a player getting to the MLB from a farm team? What are the odds?
What are the odds? Well, I mean, there's so many rounds. That's the one thing about Major League Baseball, Benny, right? Is there's so many rounds in a draft, right? I think basketball is now 2. Football is 7. Hockey is not a lot of rounds. They've cut that back. Baseball still has 20 and 30 rounds.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they baseball, it takes a little longer to develop, I think.
Mm-hmm.
A basketball player is a basketball. You look at a basketball player. Scouts could see something in a guy, and that's why they have AA, AAA, single. It's you could develop. You see it every once in a while. A guy will be in the majors for 8 years, then he finally gets his shot. A little longer development. The odds are pretty rare. That I would say 30%, maybe. I don't know.
Well, interesting, Benny.
It's so hard. I mean, there's so many minor league clubs.
Right, there are. There's so many minor league. There's so many players, right? And it's obviously 9 positions, out there and things like that. You got pitchers, which are very different from an everyday player. And from where we live right now, right, at South Brunswick High School this past year, Walker Jenkins, a tremendous high school ball player, local, went 5th overall to the Minnesota Twins. Spurned. He had a full boat to go to North Carolina, play for the Tar Heels. So he is now with the Twins organization. So I'm curious. I definitely want to track his progress, and who knows? Maybe we can get Walker Jenkins on the show next year, right?
I'm sure we can.
Successful minor league career. All right. Well, thanks for that question. Let's go to number 2, Joni. Who do we got?
Okay. Tech for Fun again asks, do you guys participate in fantasy sports?
I do not do any fantasy sports. I did once. It's difficult. You have to manage your teams like a real GM. You have to be on these things. Benny, do you do any fantasy sports?
No fantasy sports. We in our hometown many years ago, we did fantasy baseball with about maybe a dozen guys, a dozen of our friends. And one of our friends made up all the rules. And I remember it. It's funny. It was when the Detroit Tigers with Willie Hernandez won the 24 games in a row.
I remember
and
that. 84?
Yeah, I think it was 84.
Yep.
And the way he wrote out the points, like if you had a guy that was on the winning team, you got points. And, hitting home runs, you got points. But what I did is I read the rules and I says, you know what? It's going to be hard to score. I took like all the guys that were on the Detroit Tigers, even ones that didn't play, because I ended up getting points for them, and I ended up winning the league. And then all my friends got mad at me. I said, I just followed the rules. I said, like you got points if your player was on a playoff team. So I took all the Tigers. They won all them games that year, and I ended up winning them. And some of my friends weren't too happy.
I mean, everyone, something, Benny, fantasy sports have become so incredibly popular. I think that's one of the reasons of the popularity of the NFL, right? I mean, obviously betting on the lines, right? And all about that. But it's really brought in everyone into football. Nowadays, you go to a bar on a Sunday, right? And people are like, well, who's winning the game? I don't care if the Bears are winning or losing. What's Fields doing?
Yeah, right.
What's this player doing?
What's my guy doing? Did he catch the I just want to know, did my guy catch the touchdown pass? Did my guy run for the touchdown? I don't care. I don't care that the Bears are winning. Did my guy do something? And it has become very, very popular. I mean, there's TV shows that, these guys tell you who drop this guy if you have that guy. I mean, it's really popular. But
actually, something,
it was a lot of work.
It's funny. I actually am in a pro football. I am in a fantasy league. I forgot I did, and I drafted it. I did an auto draft.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
I am in a fantasy league. So
yeah, well, we went out that night, and you said, "Oh, I put it on auto."
I did auto. That's right. And I have Justin Herbert as my quarterback. So he's got a broken finger. Unfortunately, that doesn't affect his throwing this week.
No, he played with it. He bandaged it all up. He looked, he looked fine.
That's going to be my next. That's going to be my next jersey right there. Justin Herbert. It's coming up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Joni's not going to be happy with that, but we're getting Justin Herbert up there. I'm telling you right now. But thank you for the questions. We really appreciate it. Obviously, we'd love to get more questions, comments. I know tonight's show was kind of thrown together a little bit. Baseball. There's baseball going on right now as we speak. The games are being played. A lot of people might be watching that. But we'll obviously recap the games next week and things like that. But we're going to be back for third inning with Benny. We're going to talk about some of the upcoming picks in college football, in pro football. And we're also going to review last week's Ryder Cup because it was very interesting. Our guest Lance Seymour nailed it, and Benny almost nailed it point for point. So we're going to be back after a word from this sponsor.
Jim's Pawn and Guns Shop, located at 4212 Oleander Drive, Wilmington's #1 firearms dealer. Sporting a large inventory, including all brands of handguns and long guns, a full stock of accessories, and all types of ammunition, Jim's Pawn and Gun Shop has it all, including the best customer service in the area.
Before the lights go out, call Wilmington Generators. We offer the lowest price and a 10-year warranty for all Briggs & Stratton installations. A Briggs & Stratton powers more of your home for less money. Call for a free quote. Wilmington Generators. We play with power.
Welcome back to Swartz Talkin Sports. I'm Les Swartz, joined by Benny the Book, the King of Carolina. Benny's been with us all show today. We had Greg Stofko. Want to, again, appreciate Greg for coming on at such short notice, talking a little baseball and rolling down memory lane. Of course, Greg's got some interesting family history. Buddy Bell, great third baseman with the Indians and Reds, 7-time Gold Glover. His cousin David manages the Reds, went to Moeller High School. Evidently, Benny, before the show, he was talking about his relationship with Jerry Faust. He's very close with Jerry Faust as well. We should. I wish we had him on for another segment.
Iconic high school football coach that, unfortunately, he went to my Notre Dame, and coaching college football, especially at Notre Dame, is a little different than coaching the high school. And he didn't do I think as well as he expected, but iconic high school coach.
Yeah,
I mean,
great.
when Notre Dame was thrilled to get him, and it
Well, he had
just
loved
doesn't
Notre
work
Dame,
out.
right? He
Yeah.
was like such a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah.
So, but well, next time we have Greg on, we'll definitely talk a little Jerry Faust. But let's go
Yeah.
to the picks, Ben. Let's go to first of all, before we go to the picks, let's just review real quick the Ryder Cup. We all agreed. Well, I did, and I said the U.S. would win because I was a homer and I wanted the U.S.
Yeah,
to win.
because you picked with your
I picked with my heart,
instead of
you
your
don't do.
brain.
You don't
you know.
play. Lance nailed it. Lance said, those last two picks could have been head scratchers. He did not like the pick of Ricky Fowler, and ultimately it was Fowler's match that gave Europe the cup, right? He drives the ball into the water. And the one thing I don't understand, Benny, maybe you can explain it to me. I understand good sportsmanship, but you concede a 3-foot putt for the Ryder Cup when Robert McIntyre missed a 2.5-footer earlier. I mean, at least make him earn the cup. Why would you concede it?
Oh, I don't know. That's a head scratcher, but it didn't, right from the beginning. It didn't go well for the USA, and they fell behind the 8-ball, and they tried that the last I think it was 4-ball the last day to come back, but I mean they had to win 9 out of 12 single matches to win the cup. They weren't beating Hovland and McIlroy, and I told you, guy like Fitzpatrick. They had a lot of really good golfers that they love that. They love that. And
Hovland, though, I mean, you want to talk about a guy that's on his game, right, Benny? Victor Hovland's right now. I know Scotty Scheffler is the number one golfer in the world. That's by ranking only. Right now, the number one golfer in the world is Victor Hovland.
Victor Hovland, yes. And I don't even think Rory played that good, but it was good enough. I mean, the Americans. I think Max Homa probably was the best American
Homer
golfer.
and Cantlay, I think, were the best American golfers.
Yeah. And they both played together, and they won, and they won. I think they both won their single matches.
Yeah, they won their singles
they were too far. They fell right from the beginning. It fell well behind.
4-0 after the first morning of alternate shot, which Lance said the Europeans set it up that way, right? And to their advantage. And they're like basically unbeatable in alternate shot. I don't know why the U.S. cannot play that format, but it's something that the Europeans are incredibly comfortable with, right? I mean, they're very comfortable with it. Well, you almost picked a score too, Benny. You had it. What did you have? 16.5 to 11.5 or something?
Yeah.
You were pretty close.
I was pretty close. I thought I said they were going to win decisively. Lance thought that they were going to pull it out on the last day, on the last few hole, on the 18th hole in particular, and the 18th hole was a big turning point in a lot of matches. I mean, Rahm did it like back-to-back days. He made spectacular. He chipped in, I think, for an eagle on the one day that they dominated, and it was a par 5, and a lot of things could happen on a reachable par 5.
And they definitely played into Europe, that's for sure. Well, let's get to the pick segment. I know 2 weeks ago, you were riding high, my man. You were 7-1. You were killing it. We hit a little bit of a roadblock last week, but that's okay, right? This is what happens when you pick games, okay?
That's right.
In all fairness, again, it's difficult. You pick games early in the week. You had Cleveland last week. You probably would not have picked them if Deshaun Watson was quarterbacking. They sat him.
I knew their quarterback was
for the rookie Dorian Thompson or something played.
Yeah,
did not exactly light it up last week. But listen, this is a new week. The slate's clean. Let's look at your. You picked 4 games in college, and you also have a bonus pick as well. So let's look at your 4 games, starting with Arizona and the Southern California Trojans.
All right. In this game, I went with the Arizona. USC, they're a scoring machine. Caleb Williams did it again. He had 6 touchdowns, but I I would say that their defense is surrendering 28 plus points per game.
How does that guy have listen, we don't advocate letting anybody go, right? Nobody wants to get fired, right? But Alex Grinch is just, I don't know what schemes he's running there. They have talent at SC. If you believe the 4-star and 5-star, they can't stop anybody. USC.
No, they just they almost blew the game against Colorado.
And they were up 34-7 or 35-7 at half.
Yeah. They were up 28 points, and they had to recover the onside kick. Otherwise, they would have had a shot at tying the game.
So SC's favored by 21.5. Now Arizona last week was a 20.5 point underdog and covered against Washington. The Huskies came in high flying, and they lost the game 24-17. But they did not get blown out by Washington. They kept Penix Jr. out of the end zone, which no one's done this year.
Yeah. So you figure if they're gonna put 24 plus points on the board, should be pretty good with 21.5. So it's like I always told you, it's a little different playing at home as playing on the road. But with the defense that USC has, 21.5 points is a lot of points.
All right, so we like the Wildcats
like Arizona
to cover. Next game, another Wildcats. We got the Kentucky Wildcats against the number 1 team in the country, the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yes. They have a tremendous running game. Their quarterback, they expected a lot of things from. He hasn't quite played up to his capabilities.
This is Devin Leary, the transfer from NC State we're talking about at Kentucky.
And Georgia, they've been winning, but they haven't been dominating defensively like they normally do. So I'm gonna think that this is going to be a pretty close game, and I'm going to take the 14.5 points with Kentucky against the number 1 team. They got other games they might be looking ahead to, down the road, but. My man played pretty well my Heisman hopeful there played pretty well last week.
Benny, I have to tell you, I think I'm starting to agree with you, right? He's not going to win the Heisman because he's not going to get the touches, but I think he's probably the best football player in America right now in college. Is Brock Bowers, the tight end at Georgia. Yes. He looks like the closest thing to Rob Gronkowski that I've seen in years.
Mm-hmm. He's his running capabilities after he catches the ball is what's so. I mean, he's a big, strong, powerful guy,
right?
But he runs afterwards like he's a wide receiver, And he had a really, really good game last week, and hopefully he won't be running around on Kentucky's defense. I don't know. I think Kentucky's defense is okay, but you never know.
So they blasted Florida last week. Kentucky did.
Yeah. We're gonna take the points with
we're gonna take
Wildcats.
All right. Well, we're sticking with a Cats theme. Now we have the Battle of the Tigers, which is the Mizzou Tigers, undefeated right now. Right. I mean, they're playing incredibly well. Elliot Drinkwitz, who came over from App State to Missouri, has really turned that program around. They've got a quarterback that is not being mentioned in the Heisman race, but if he has a big game against LSU this week, Brady Cook, he could elevate himself into talk. Now, LSU, I don't know what's going on with Brian Kelly's defense, but I think their pass defense is 118th. Their rush defense is 111th. It's atrocious right now. It is not up to LSU standard. And you like the Tigers to cover easily in this game.
I like Missouri. I seriously think this is another one of those games where you're getting 6.5 points. They might win. They got a good shot at winning the game outright. Mm-hmm. LSU, they look lost. I mean, I watched them against Miss. It was like going back and forth. It was like a ping pong match, and they couldn't. They had a 19. I think it was they had a 19-point lead. Oh no, it was 49-40, and late in the fourth quarter, and they couldn't stop Mississippi. They just were like, it was like nobody was there. So I'm going to take the plus 6.5 with Missouri Tigers at home.
I'll tell you, Benny, in that game, I watched that game. You and I were talking about it during the game. Jalen Daniels is playing outstanding football for the LSU Tigers, right? He's throwing, he's running, he's got great wide receivers. He's got a couple of real gems that I think will be in the NFL. But I can't figure that defense out. You know, Harold Perkins was lauded as like the best linebacker coming back. You and I had discussions in the first week where they maybe put him in a bad position inside,
right?
And he just seems to kind of lost his way. Listen, if they lose this game,
I think,
don't be shocked if you see him enter the transfer portal for his last year in college, because he's going to go pro after his junior year because he played as a true freshman. It wouldn't be shocked if he jumps to an Alabama or Colorado or somebody like that.
I think he got hurt last week.
Did he really?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. During the game, late in the second half, I think, one of the things where he was going towards the where the guy was being tackled and somebody came flying by and hit him in his leg.
He's not ruled out for this game, so I'm hoping he plays.
Okay, all right.
But you like Mizzou getting the 6.5 against LSU,
plus the 6.5,
and then is this the TC special? Are we going to just keep calling this the TC special?
I gotta give them a little love. I mean, they really beat a powerhouse last week. I mean, what Wagner, what Seawolves? Is that?
I don't know. But Rutgers ran roughshod over them, didn't they?
I played against Wagner in college when I played baseball at Wagner, but I didn't know they
had a football team.
They had even a football team. I didn't know they had a football team.
Well, I don't think they did either because Rutgers pretty much ran roughshod.
But I watched. I picked Rutgers against Michigan, and it was a 14-7 at halftime, and then they just that crazy play. And they fell behind and they just couldn't catch up. So Wisconsin is not an offensive juggernaut. So I think Schiano could pull out a defensive scheme to slow them guys down. And maybe this kid who seemed like he had a little potential, he threw some good passes. He missed some balls that the guys were wide open. I think they could score enough points.
All right. So you're liking the Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
Scarlet Knights
getting 2 touchdowns against
14 points.
And the line's what? 14. The line gone up now? 14.5?
No. The line has gone down.
The line's gone down.
14 to 13.
But we got it at 14.
Same thing in the Missouri Tiger game. The line was 6.5 when we made our picks, and I just looked at the ticker here, and it's down to 5.
Wow.
So
okay.
I think we're going to be on the right side in that game.
All right. And now you have a bonus pick. You picked it last week and nailed it. Air Force absolutely destroyed San Diego State. I got to tell you, I watched that game. Air Force, probably the better of all 3 of the service academies this year.
Yes.
But it's looking at a collision between Air Force and Fresno State in a couple of weeks. And they're both undefeated. And if one of those teams does go undefeated, I think they'll be the highest of the non-Power Fives, and they're going to go to a New Year's Day Bowl. If one of those teams goes undefeated, I believe they will be ranked the highest.
I'm sure that sounds right.
So, okay, you're looking at your Washington State Cougars at UCLA as underdogs. Again, Benny, I think they're being disrespected, as is Cameron Ward. And I think that he's making this personal this week. I really do.
Yep. I think Washington State plus the 3.5 points against their defense. They have a pressure defense. They have 2 very good defensive ends that put a lot of pressure. And that's where UCLA had the problem with when they played Utah. The kid was getting killed. I mean, he looked very good, but he was under pressure the whole time. That they got the ball back, and like we said, they went from the 22-yard line back to the goal line in 3 plays, 3 sacks. So Washington State, Ward, excellent quarterback, running backs plus 3.5. I like Washington
You're taking
State.
the Cougs. I like that pick. And I got to tell you, if Ward has a great game against UCLA and puts up stats comparable to what he's been doing this year, I mean, listen, he lit up Oregon State, and that is a very, very solid defense, okay?
Yes.
Not only in the Pac-12, but nationally. He lit them up. I'm telling you right now, he lights up UCLA like that. He's got to jump in the top 5 of the Heisman talk. He has to.
Well, Bowers is like number 15 or 16 in the Heisman voting right now.
Mm-hmm.
And every player ahead of him is a quarterback. So it's like a quarterback.
It's an award.
Trophy.
It's a quarterback award, right?
A quarterback award. And they have their own quarterback award anyway.
Right. They got they have 2 of them. They have the Davey O'Brien and the Johnny Unitas.
Right. So, I mean, you got to give it to the best football player, whether it be a defensive player or a tight end, a wide receiver. You know, if you have a wide receiver that returns kicks like the best in the country, you got to put them up there. But that's not the way they've been doing it lately. So,
all right. So I'll recap real quick. You like Arizona, Kentucky, Missouri, and Rutgers all getting points. And actually, you like all underdogs this week. Washington State getting 3.5.
5 underdogs. And I'm usually not a dog. I usually don't balk a lot, but I'm looking at these games and I think, you know, every year there's a week in college football that things get turned upside down, upsets, and it seems to happen on the same week. So I think you got Ohio State and Maryland playing each other, 2 undefeated teams, and you also have Oklahoma and Texas, 2 undefeated teams.
That's the big one. I wanted to get your pick on that because that's the Red River rivalry. They're both undefeated. My opinion, if Texas takes care of Oklahoma this week, they are going undefeated and they're going to the playoffs. I don't see a Big 12 team out there that is going to challenge them. I think these are by far the 2 best teams in the Big 12.
Yes, without a doubt. You know what? I'm leaning towards Oklahoma in that game plus the 6.5 points.
Okay.
They got a quarterback, Gabriel, that's highly ranked. He's good. If he plays good against Ewers, he'll be right in the Heisman.
Right. He'll catapult himself into discussion, no doubt.
Right,
if he has a big game and they upset Texas,
you know,
you've got to put him up there, right? You have to.
Yeah. He's a quality quarterback. So that's a big Heisman game right there. So far, Ewers has had a lot of spotlight games this year, and he has produced.
He's come through. Like I told you, a lot of people were saying Arch Manning is going to jump in. I'm like, nope. No. If yours is playing good football, not turning it over, and Texas is winning, Sark is going to stay with them. So, all right, let's jump to the pros. And the pros are. You want to talk about a head-scratching league, Benny?
Topsy-turvy.
I mean, you got Miami puts up 70 against Denver. Then they get shellacked at Buffalo.
Yes.
Buffalo, the week before, destroys the Commanders in Washington, sacks Howell 9 times. And then the Commanders come back and almost upset the Eagles. That takes them to overtime. Yep. It's almost like it makes no sense week to week, right?
Yeah, it does it. And with the spreads included, like, let's mention the game. The Kansas City Chiefs. They're up 17-0 on the Jets. Game over. What happens? The Jets intercept Mahomes a couple times. The kid did play very well.
Zach Wilson.
He looked much better than he did. They let the reins loose on him a little bit, and they told him, just get rid of the ball. And if anybody watched the end of the game, Mahomes was running for a touchdown. He knew he got the first down at the 3-yard line, and instead of most runners would run into the end zone, they'd kick off to the other team, so they would have been up 10.
Right.
He slid at the 1, and he ran the clock out. If he would have ran in for the touchdown, you never know what could happen. They'd had the kick off. If the Jets score a touchdown or kick a field goal and recover an onside kick, they could tie the game. Mm-hmm. But with him being as smart as he is, he slid, game over.
Well, that's what you said. I mean, not only does he have the physical attributes, Mahomes, but he's a very cerebral player as well. I mean, he understands the game. He's a very situationally sound quarterback, right? He knows what's going on at all times. He usually does. He had a couple of throws that you'd like to take back, and he's not putting up eye-popping numbers this year. That's, I think him and Kelsey I think Kelsey's a little bit drunk from this whole Taylor Swift thing. I mean, the whole internet's blowing up about this. Yeah. Taylor Swift this and Taylor Swift that. I mean, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is this thing even real, or is this just to gain, publicity? I don't know what it is.
No, I think she's got enough publicity. She doesn't need any more. She just.
I think the NFL needs it.
Yeah. It is good for the NFL. I told you his jersey sales went crazy because all these Swifties are buying his jersey.
All the Swifties, I love it.
Went ahead of the Mahomes.
Well, let's get to the pro picks right now. So your first game, you've got the Detroit Lions leading the NFC North against the Carolina Panthers. Who do you like?
Okay, in this game, Detroit -9. Carolina, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. Young, he's not being protected. Their offensive line is not that good. The Lions, they're for real. They turned the corner last year. They had a little misstep when Seattle came into Detroit, but they're 3-1. They're for real. They got a defense. Campbell's got them really playing hard. They should win this game by double digits easily.
All right, so you're liking the Lions, given 9. Next game, you get the Miami Dolphins and your New York Giants, which right now are a hot mess.
If Miami doesn't win this game by 30 points, there should be an investigation. The Giants, they cannot protect Daniel Jones against any defense. The guy, I don't think he had good. Pretty good numbers last week, but he got sacked 10 times. He's on a pace to get sacked 96 times. The record is 73. And I think it was Derek Carr or one of the Carrs who played for the Texans his first year when he came out.
I think that was David Carr, yeah.
David Carr.
Yeah.
He got sacked. They ruined that guy's career. Yeah. I mean, he couldn't have been worth anything after he got beat up so bad. So Miami, after losing the way they lost, they're going to want to put a big number up. And the Giants defense they don't tackle, they're like you said, they're a hot mess. They're just, a Saquon, without Saquon, there's no pressure being taken off Daniel Jones. There's, every good quarterback needs someone to, watch. The defense has to watch some other guy. They don't have to watch anybody. There's no wide receivers that scare you on the Giants, And they're gonna score. They might score 50 points.
I'll say one thing. I think the Dolphins are going to be a little upset after last week where they really got crushed by Buffalo, and I think they want to bounce back. And I think they're going to make a statement against the Giants, unfortunately, for the Giant fans. You're right. The Giants' offensive lines is a mess. They've had injuries along the line, and I feel bad for Jones. You look at the national media and everyone's blasting the kid. He had the one bad pick that was a very, very bad decision that he threw inside the 20 that got returned by Witherspoon for a 97-yard touchdown. But 27 for 34 after being sacked 10 times and running for your life. Even a lot of the throws were checkdowns. What do you expect the guy to do? He doesn't have more than 3 seconds to throw a football.
Right. Yeah. When he's receiving the ball, he's usually shotgun.
Right.
He's probably thinking, where am I going to run? Not who am I going to throw it to? Or where is the pressure going to be coming from? Who's going to let that guy go by? Yeah. And they had 3, the tackle was out before the game, and I think they lost 2 other linemen during the game. So 3 of their linemen were out.
Yeah. And, between the Jets and the Giants, Benny, things do not look good football-wise in New York. No. I would say the state, but Buffalo is still in the state of New York, so they're doing okay. Let's go to the third game, and this is going to be a high-profile game. I think this is going to be the marquee game of the week.
Yes, could be the marquee game of the season, depending on how Dallas comes out of this. But San Francisco's riding high right now. They got it. They got the offense. They got the defense. They got the running game. They got the passing game. Third best defense in the NFL right now. Dallas, big blow when they lost the defensive back. Very big blow. We're going to see how Dak does. I mean, if I could be wrong in this game, if Dak plays good, it could be a close game. But I think the 49, they're destroying everybody. And I think they're at full strength. Ayuk's back. They just have too many weapons. I think they're the Super Bowl favorite.
Right now, if they don't have injuries, Benny, and I think there's a couple of players on that 49er team that cannot afford to go down. One of them being Christian McCaffrey, who's off to an amazing start for the Niners, right? I think he had 4 touchdowns last week. If you had to say at the quarter pole, well, used to be the quarter pole because of 17 games, but I would say he's your leading guy for MVP right now.
Leading candidate for MVP.
Brock Purdy,
without a doubt.
All he does is complete passes. He was 20 for 21 last week. He's not going to light it up. He's not going to throw for 450 and 5 touchdowns. He's not a Mahomes. He's not a Herbert. He's not that type of a player, right? But what he is, he doesn't make mistakes. Okay? If you keep him healthy, they're going to be in every ball game.
Of course, yes. If he makes no mistakes with that defense that they have, teams aren't going to drive against them.
Right.
They're not gonna go on 75-yard drives, 80-yard drives. It's when you turn it over that offenses get the short field, then they don't have to go so far against that defense. They go get 80 yards against that defense, most likely they're gonna make a mistake, and San Francisco's gonna get the ball back. And McCaffrey, unbelievable athlete. I watched him at Stanford. He's such a tough runner inside. I mean, he runs better inside than he does outside a lot of times.
And he's not built like a Derrick Henry or somebody like that.
He's not a big guy.
Right.
He gets through the hole, quick acceleration, and once he gets past the first wave, he's gone.
So you like the San Francisco 49ers. Favored by 4 over the Cowboys. And let's go to your last game, which you're picking this game. Honestly, Benny, if I'm watching this game, I might hit the snooze button.
I'm going to take the New York Jets just because I think Denver stinks. Denver.
Let's be honest, Benny. What do you think about Denver?
I think they stink. And with the Jet defense, I think they're going to give Wilson a lot of problems, and they're kind of in the same situation as the Giants because they won that miracle game the week before against Chicago. They were getting trounced. They were getting trounced by the Chicago Bears with trouncing Denver. So what I saw of the kid, if he just hands the ball off, their defense is horrible. So the Jets should be able to run the ball. They'll take the pressure off the kid. Then he'll be able to play action pass. He'll be able to hit the wide receivers.
Well, Benny, let me just tell you, if Zach Wilson is going to, make the next step, right, and really be a productive quarterback, there's no better defense to do it against than against the Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos. That's for sure. That is for sure.
All
so
right.
I like them +2. I think the line's gone down to 1.5 since we made the picks.
You like the Jets to win this one outright, don't you?
Jets win the game outright.
All right, so let's repick. Let's look at the picks in the NFL for Benny, the book, the King of Carolina. He likes the Lions against Carolina, our Carolina Panthers here. He likes the Dolphins to blow out the Giants. I agree with you. If there should be an investigation by Congress if they don't win by 21 or more than 21 points. San Francisco in a close one. Do you think it'll be close against Dallas, or do you think they'll win comfortably?
I'm gonna say they're gonna win between 7 and 10 points.
Okay. Yeah, I can see a 31-21 game or 27-17 in that game.
Yeah.
And I think the Jets actually do beat Denver comfortably, and I think they win by double digits. I think that Russell Wilson he's not playing badly, does not have a lot of weapons in the backfield or at wide receiver other than Cortland Sutton. It's not like he's playing awful, but you have to be discouraged, Benny, when your defense goes out there and in 3 minutes gives up 90-yard drives for touchdowns. I mean, how do you mentally stay in the game like that, right?
Yeah. The offenses and defenses feed off each other. Now, they didn't win the game against Kansas City, but when the Jets, when they saw that the kid could at least move the ball, the defense started playing to the level that everybody expected them to play. Everybody expects that defense to be a Super Bowl defense. So that's why they went out and got Aaron Rodgers, because they said, we got the Super Bowl defense. All we got to do is get an offense that could score some points. We score 20 points, we're going to win most games. Unfortunately,
he went down on the fourth play of the year.
I think it was like that was meant to be.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, you can't write a story like that, and it's just ridiculous. And I thought the kid got thrown back in, and now if you give him a little time, they may be able to win some games. They could still probably make the playoffs, because there's some teams out there that people thought were playoff teams, like the Cincinnati Bengals. They're in trouble.
Yeah, they're in trouble.
Joe Burrows. I mean, if you wanted a bonus pick, I would take the Cardinals plus the 3 at home against Cincinnati, because Cincinnati just doesn't look like they have it. I mean,
well, Burrow's playing injured, right? He's got the calf injury. He can't move around in the pocket.
He can't move. He's stationary. He's there, and he doesn't have the greatest offensive line.
He's got an awful line.
So, and you got Miami, you got Buffalo and the Jet D, but the Jets should finish. They should finish up there. I mean, they should. If the kid just does mistake, or he just can't make mistakes.
Right. Well, like I said, if you're going to get well, right, and you're going to improve your game, it's against the Denver Broncos defense to do it.
Right.
But, Benny, listen, I think it's a roller coaster season. I think you're going to bounce back strong this week. We'll be checking out your picks, and I know you're heading to Florida on Saturday, so you'll be with the show via Orlando next Wednesday.
Via Orlando, yes.
So just remember to bring your computer, okay?
I will bring my computer, Les. And we will.
Okay,
and we will talk
listen,
Wednesday.
You have safe travels down to Florida. Thanks for your picks. We wish you the best of luck, and we'll be back with the wrap after this.
Take care,
Lily's Ice Cream Shop, a full-service store in the Waterford Shopping Plaza of Leland, offering an array of tasty treats, including both hard and soft ice cream in a variety of flavors and delectable combinations to appeal to even the discerning palate, assured to put a big smile on everyone's face. Stop by today to enjoy your satisfying experience.
Welcome back to Swartz Talkin Sports. Les Swartz. I want to thank everyone who was able to tune in. I know it's difficult. 7 o'clock live show. We do what we can. If you could not view the show live, please go check it out. It's always going to be in the archives. Again, please hit the subscribe button. Very important to keep this show rolling. We look to get, some really, really excellent guests in the next couple of weeks. We're talking to some people in football and in baseball and hockey, so we hope to have some really, really great shows for you. Special thanks to Greg Stofko for coming in at the last second, the Cincinnati Kid, as always. Benny the Book, the King of Carolina. Again, we're available via Spotify and Google Podcasts, so if you don't have time to watch the program, you can drive in your car and listen to it, so that would be great. Also, be sure to follow Swartz Talkin Sports on TikTok and Instagram. We'll see you next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Have a great week, everyone.